Terraria's Golem part of progression is a bit of an odd one to say the least, coming right in the middle of a distinct power spike where everything moves extremely quickly. You see, in the same hour of playtime, you can go all the way from using pre-planned Terra weapons to wielding post-cultist ones, which are obviously light years ahead from a performance perspective. Today, we're going to be looking at a relatively unpopular weapon that not only comes from Golem, an already pretty underwhelming boss, but is one of the less favoured drops from Golem's pool. Of course, I'm talking about the Staff of Earth. I have to admit, this is totally one of these cases where even I haven't used this weapon before. So the question is, could it be a hidden gem I should have been using all along, or is it just another mediocre weapon to add to the pile of irrelevance? Before we jump into it, however, if you enjoy these kind of weapon reviews, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe as it truly helps out the channel. Right then, let's see how you get this thing. As mentioned, the Staff of Earth is in fact a Golem drop, meaning after defeating Plantera, you're going to want to head to your Lizard Temple. Once you're in, you simply need to progress to the altar room at the bottom by navigating its dangerously trapped corridors. Once you are ready, consume a power cell at the altar, and the fight will begin. To be honest, I feel like even after countless buffs, Golem is still an absolute cheese, but just in case, I found the Razor Pine or Bat Scepter particularly destructive against this boss, taking him down in sub 30 seconds. And when he is down, he'll have about a 14.29% chance of getting the staff. The thing is though, with Golem being so easy to farm, it isn't really a biggie if you don't get it first time. Okay then, let's see what it can do. The Staff of Earth is actually quite fun to use, hurling large jungle temple style boulders when fired. The boulders are weighty and they're affected by gravity, meaning its range can be a little limiting. An added bonus of this, however, is the way the boulders react with tiles, bouncing multiple times until eventually slowing down into a roll. And while, yeah, its single target damage might not be anything to scream about, with a baked-in 5 piercing, it performed extremely well during the multi-target test, reaching a DPS around the 2500 mark. But, while this all sounds well and good in a vacuum, the reality is, at this stage of the game, there are so many other weapons you can play around with. The Razor Pine, for example, utterly destroys its single target performance and can be obtained even earlier. And when it comes to multi-target, well, the Razorblade Typhoon exists, which can seemingly be obtained earlier. I suppose though, if we look at it from the perspective of primary progression, it is competing against the Heat Ray, which although of course loses against it in range, does deal the same amount of damage, but with built-in piercing, making it a far better option for crowds. This can be seen clear as day against real enemies, utterly flattening this line of mummies compared to the slower performance of the Heat Ray. Obviously though, if we start to bring in external weapons, it just all falls apart a bit, especially against tankier targets like these biomimics. And yet, while it does deal with them quite quickly, this isn't anything a homing or much more precise weapon couldn't do at the same speed or even quicker. And unfortunately, it only gets worse from here. Against the cultist, plainly, it just wasn't great. It was difficult to aim, slow to fire, and when you did actually make contact, didn't deal much damage. So yeah, things aren't looking good for the Staff of Earth at this point, and as you'd expect, against the pillars, it's just way too behind to be reliable enough for this feat, which I think fully retires this weapon from being usable past this point. So I mean, looking at it now, the Staff of Earth is most definitely not a boss weapon. However, I guess if you're wanting to farm something like the Razor Pine or Bat Scepter, it can be an alright choice for dealing with the moon invasions. But, I mean, other than that, well, I can kind of see why it's been so overlooked. Let me know your thoughts on the Staff of Earth down below. Is this something you'd consider picking up or just trashing altogether? This has been sockrteez, and I'll see you in the next one.